Orbiting the charred husk of a dead star, the Thessoni Signal Intelligence Vault vibrated with a relentless, mechanical cold. Lieutenant Desseek stood on the upper observation deck, his 4 translucent blue tympanic membranes fluttering as he monitored the ambient radiation feeds. Below him, sealed in the subbasement, sat the human. Her transfer paperwork had crossed Commander Vrelik's desk exactly 9 months earlier. It designated Nira Okonkwo, a 34-year-old biped with close-cropped hair, as an ambient noise calibration technician. Her sole purpose was to filter out the background radiation hum from the station's deep space sensor arrays. She held no security clearance. She required no supervision. Vrelik, meticulous to the point of severe paranoia, had approved the assignment without a second thought. The Thessoni did not waste intelligence resources on calibration techs. The Thessoni military doctrine rested on an absolute, unshakable foundation. Their encryption utilized quantum-rotating, 14-dimensional cipher keys. No species in the known galactic sector had cracked it in 400 years. The entire command staff trusted the math implicitly. Nira spent her cycles in the dim light of the lower tier. She chewed dried mango and wore a battered pair of analog headphones. The left ear cup was held together by gray tape. The cord dangled precariously over her terminal, plugging into an archaic audio jack. Her dark skin caught the flickering blue light of the status monitors. She often rubbed the small, pale scar behind her left ear, the ghost of a removed cochlear implant, while her eyes tracked the cascading waveforms. The air down in her sector always tasted heavily of recycled ozone and stale copper. To the intelligence officers pacing the catwalks above, she was merely a biological fixture. If you want to uncover the quietest secrets hidden in the dark, join us on this channel and listen closely. A low hum, constant and indifferent. It was the sound of 1 billion cubic kilometers of empty space pressing against the station's hull. Nira's assigned function was mind-numbingly dull. She logged acoustic interference patterns, isolating the useless static so that the Thessoni could transmit their unbreakable fleet coordinates without degradation. Commander Vrelik walked past her station weakly. His one cracked monocle lens reflected the endless strings of encrypted data flowing above them. He never looked twice at her screens. But Vrelik did not understand Earth oceans. Nira had been a submarine sonar officer. She was trained to sit in a submerged metal tube, surrounded by crushing pressure, and detect enemy vessels by the microscopic sound of their propeller cavitation. In an ocean filled with the chaotic noise of 1 million biological organisms, her brain was wired to find the apex predator. The human auditory cortex is a profound anomaly. Evolutionary biology forged it in aquatic and dense terrestrial environments thick with ambient chaos, requiring extreme pattern recognition for survival. It can process nearly 400,000 distinguishable tones. The Thessoni average was roughly 12,000. Nira listened to the deep space radiation hum. She adjusted the tape on her headphones. And then, she noticed the rhythm. It was buried deep beneath the static. A microscopic signal variance, fluttering at a threshold of 0.003%. To Desika's tympanic membranes, it was just stellar wind. To Nira, it was a frequency-hopping spread spectrum. It sounded exactly like the Cold War-era acoustic communications from Soviet Akula-class submarines, which meant it was not random. It was a cipher. She started decoding the rhythmic pulses during her downtime. It gave her something to do while the station cycled its atmospheric scrubbers. Translating the quantum-rotating cipher into auditory patterns, she mapped the data using basic sonar hydrophone principles. She created a personal folder on her local drive. She named it Interesting Sounds. There are patterns everywhere if you know how to look. Subscribe to see what else hides in the static. 9 months of meticulous coordination culminated in the deployment of the Thessoni fleet. Admiral Garath stood before the central holotable in the upper command tier, his posture rigid. The strike against their rivals at Grid 8817 was perfectly orchestrated. Millions of data points had flowed through the vacuum of space, protected by the impenetrable 14-dimensional cipher. Victory was a mathematical certainty. Then the primary console chimed. It was a direct, unencrypted transmission from a human admiral's office. Commander Vrelick stepped forward, adjusting his cracked monocle as the text rendered on the main display. Regarding your fleet action at Grid 8817. Attached, please find all 200 pre-operation signals. Decoded, complete with fleet positions, attack vectors, and supply chain routes. Source: Ambient Noise Calibration Station 7. Analyst: N. Okonkwo. Silence swallowed the command deck. Lieutenant Desica's hands trembled over his datapad. He opened the attached file. Every single encrypted signal from the last 9 months was there, perfectly translated. The very first transmission, containing the core rally coordinates, had been cracked in exactly 3 minutes and 41 seconds. Vrelick accessed the calibration technician's local system logs. The human had not used a quantum computer. She had used an analog text file. Her personal notes sat neatly beside the decoded military secrets. Decoded during lunch, mango was better than usual. Interesting harmonic structure. Reminds me of Soviet submarine cavitation. The Thessoni intelligence officers stared at the screen. The horror was entirely intellectual, a sudden, sheer drop into terrifying vulnerability. Nira had bypassed their math completely by treating their encryption like a physical environment. Her brain simply recognized the rhythm in the noise, picking out the cipher the same way her oceanic ancestors had isolated the sound of an approaching predator in the deep water. To her, the unbreakable quantum algorithm was just another shark in the dark. Vrelick descended the metal stairs to the sub-basement. Desik followed, his blue skin noticeably paler. Nira sat at her terminal. She was chewing something. The battered Earth headphones were still clamped over her ears. Vrelick stopped in front of her workstation, his voice tight. "You decoded our highest military encryption." Nira paused. She pulled the taped ear cup back, exposing the small scar behind her ear. "Oh, was that classified?" "It was just coming through the background noise. I thought it was a test." She smiled, an easy, terrifying expression. Vrelick realized the true scale of the disaster. If this was what a human janitor could do with ambient sound, what were their actual intelligence operatives capable of achieving? A second message blinked onto Desica's datapad. It was a postscript from the human admiral. "Ms. Okonkwo has been recommended for commendation. Also, you may want to change your encryption. She says the new variant you tested last Tuesday has the same flaw." Gone. 3 days later, the sub-basement workstation sat empty. The human had been transferred back to her own fleet. Her heavy, analog headphones remained on the desk, the gray tape peeling slightly under the harsh fluorescent lights. The jack dangled off the edge, swaying slightly in the ventilation currents. On the primary monitor behind the abandoned equipment, the Thessoni encryption protocol continued to run its endless, complex loops. It hummed in the cold air, just like the dead star outside. They had not changed the cipher. They simply did not have anything better.